Yeah, I remember the whole week. It was a really crazy week with Christmas, I believe, or New Year. I can't remember how that fell, but I think it was Christmas night. We were off. It was a Wednesday. I went over to Mike's place and we had a long conversation. And by the end of the conversation, we had come to the conclusion I was going to play that week, which was exciting. And then when it comes to the game, uh, I remember being a little leery about getting landed on again. For sure, there was a hit early in the game. You hear that? Can you
Yeah,
guys
I
mute?
everything is muted, so I don't know where that is coming from, but everything is muted on my end, so I apologize.
Okay. Uh, as far as the game goes, I remember being a back and forth game. Some very strange plays in that game. Obviously, the fumble that turned into a touchdown was an interesting play. I believe Boykin picked that up and ran that in. And then the last drive, I was going for it on 4th and 1 and barely getting it, hitting a 4th and 3 with Jordy kind of caught it off the turf, a low throw, and then 4th and 8. Johnny coming over with a fantastic block and just the elation as the ball's in the air and I'm fading back to the left. Watching Cobby run the end zone is just a moment that you never forget. The celebration in the locker room, the tears, the gratitude, to be able to go out there and play with your guys. Um, that's definitely a top five moment of my career here in Green Bay, and thankful to Johnny. John's had some amazing plays over the years. Just some really special ones, some fun moments. Uh, Definitely one of my all-time favorites. Probably one of his best plays ever as Packer.
Ryan Wood.
Aaron, we've talked to you a lot recently about your connection with Devontae, which is something that predates this year, but it just seems like it's taken level this year. Is there something that maybe didn't necessarily was absent in the past, but was still growing in the past that has hit that new level? Something that you can identify that has helped you guys get to this point this season specifically?
I think just the more that we give him, the more we get out. The more latitude that we give him within the offense, the more production that we have. He's not a paper football kind of guy. He's not an X's and O's kind of guy. He does so many crazy talented things between the lines that the offense, any offense in general, just doesn't have the creativity on paper that he can add to route schemes. He's a guy you can give 2-in-1 routes, meaning you can give him options within a play and allow him to pick the best one, whether it's leverage or defender that's on him or situation. He's just so talented. Very smooth catcher of the football with his hands. Really good route runner, fast enough to get on top on the deep balls. Savvy enough for back shoulder stuff. Incredible in the slot. So I think just the more that we moved him around has helped and allowed him to get free of some of the doubles. And then the more that we've given him within the offense, the ability to have two-way goes on certain plays, to have a deep route or a short route based on his feel of the leverage and the defender on him. He's just one of those special guys, Ryan, where literally the more that we have given him, the more production that we've seen.
Mike Spofford.
Aaron, how much more challenging do you think it'll be against Chicago's defense this time around with them having Hicks back in there? And for you, where does Roquan Smith rank in terms of the dynamic inside linebackers that you guys have faced this year?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the best, if not the best, group of linebackers. I've always been a fan of Danny. I think he's a great tackler, a downhill guy who brings it every single time. And Roquan is just so talented sideline to sideline. He's a dynamic player, been ascending since he got there. I remember he was holding out and we were kind of, hoping they wasn't going to play a couple years ago just because you knew the talent level that he had. But he's a special player. Akeem is just a difference maker. You know, he's a big body inside who just does so many things. He's so stout against the run. It's hard to move him. He's just such a solid player inside. So it's not just having him back, but the urgency of being in a position to make the playoffs changes everything. And they're already a very solid football team. Add a little extra motivation of getting into playoffs. Definitely, definitely makes them more dangerous.
Rob Domofsky.
Hey, Aaron, Favre always used to hate it when people would say, "Hey, man, we really got to crank it up this week," because he'd be like, "Well, why weren't you cranking it up, before all the time?" But that notwithstanding, what is a Week 17 game against the Bears with so much at stake personally and for both teams feel like and require?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Brett there. I don't feel like that you should have to crank it up at certain times. It should be cranked from the get go. There's different venues and times during the season where it does feel like there's more energy. You know, in years past, when you have fans, you're playing Sunday Night Football or big opponent like last week would have been. Uh, you maybe feel a little different type of energy, a little extra urgency, a little extra excitement, maybe in the locker room, pregame on the field. Anytime you play Chicago, there's always that little extra that's built in, I think, in the fabric of the organizations from the history of playing so many damn games against each other. And the feelings, the mutual feelings that both fan bases have for each other, and the grimy games that we've had over the years. So I don't think you need to add any extra motivation to this game. We both have something to play for. We're playing for the 1 seed. They're playing for their playoff lives. So there's a lot at stake for both squads. We got after them a few weeks ago. They've been playing a lot better since then. And we know what kind of game it's going to be.
Aaron Nagler.
Aaron, do you remember where you were when you found out you had won Most Valuable Player the last two times?
Let me see. I feel like I was at the NFL honors both times. Um, my dear friend who passed in January was the producer. So I think I had a heads up both times. Didn't necessarily have a speech planned or gave a speech that was very uh, concise. I don't think either time. There's such an excitement of winning that award, and then the enormity of getting up on stage and having to deliver some sort of words to a large audience. But I do remember just the pride I had up there both times. Um, but no, I couldn't tell you exactly where I was. But I think I got maybe tipped off both times.
Chancellor Johnson.
Hey, Aaron, I know you talked about multiple times about obviously wanting, home field advantage and things like that and playing in this weather, how much you embrace it. Just being a Cali guy, do you remember your first winter here in Green Bay, and how did you go about adjusting to playing football kind of here in this weather?
I definitely remember my first winter where I was, living on the north side. Luckily, I had a great neighbor kid who would come over from time to time and help me with my driveway. Definitely slipped on that driveway multiple times trying to shovel it. Occasionally, my neighbor Mark would come by, and he had a kind of a plow in the front of his truck. And sometimes, if it was a late day at work, I'd come home and he would have it shoveled. Sometimes, when the big plows would come through, they'd make a humongous deposit of snow in my driveway. I had a slanted driveway, and more than once I tried to kind of jump my Toyota Tundra over that mass of snow and got stuck at least a couple times on top of the buildup of snow. And both times, I believe Clay, my neighbor buddy, came over and helped me shovel me out. But it took a lot to get used to. Practicing outside and being in the snow. Look, in California, I remember specifically not just the snow, but a friend of mine, a classmate of mine in high school, I think I was a freshman, was on the front page of the ER, the Enterprise Record, the daily paper in Chico, because it was such a big deal, and it wasn't like it stuck around for a while. But living in the valley, we just didn't see a lot of snow growing up, and didn't have a lot of experience playing in any type of weather. I mean, we played in some pretty warm temperatures, even in the fall, growing up in Chico. So then going to Cal, rained a little bit there, but didn't have a lot of weather. So being out to Green Bay the first year was definitely a shock to the body. But I learned kind of little tricks here and there about how to keep yourself warm. Some friends were teasing me about that little, turtleneck I wear sometimes. But I tell you, hey, it's important to keep your neck warm. It's the little things. I wear toe warmers, which it really help, I feel like, and trying to keep my hands warm. But it was definitely an adjustment for me.
Mark with the Chicago Sun-Times.
Hey, Aaron, I know you said you don't really feel the need to crank it up, for a big game or whatever, but you more than any Bears opponent have an appreciation for what this game means to the Bears and the trepidation their fans are feeling, knowing that their team has to beat you and the Packers to assure themselves of the playoff spot. So with that in mind, I mean, how much do you relish this opportunity against the Bears, because it's the Bears? I know you want to just say it's just another game, but it just seems like your history and everything might be maybe a little more than that.
Well, I'm not a cliche guy, so I'm never going to say it's just another game. I mean, this is big Chicago against little Green Bay, and I've always enjoyed the rivalry. I would love an appreciation for the history of this game and know how important this rivalry is to both fan bases. Couldn't be any better matchup this week, like I said, with them playing for their playoff lives, us playing for the number one seed in that stadium where we've had success, but it's a tough place to play. It'd be a lot more fun, candidly, with fans there for sure. I mean, I have an appreciation for those fans. It's a great sports town, and I've really enjoyed playing there over the years. And we've had some big ones. We've had some tough losses too. It's always going to be a struggle in that stadium. Everything from the grass being different to hearing that their favorite son singing the national anthem so many times and the crowd just going absolutely nuts. It's those tingles over the years there has made that place a really special environment. And I do have a lot of respect for the organization, the fan base, and their team, and I'm excited about the test this week.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Aaron, despite my alleged saltiness, I heard you talking with Pat about the MVP, and you were very candid about that, which isn't always the case with folks talking about individual awards. I know you said it's not the most important thing, your competitiveness and winning is, but what would it mean to end up with number 3 when you're as close as you are to it? And then on another topic, if I may, why is your play action pass game just been so darn good this year as opposed to in the past?
Well, first, it would mean a lot to me. There's only been, I think, 4 guys who won it 3 times or more, with, I believe, Peyton having won it 5, and I know Farvey and Brady. Okay, so 3 guys. So not many guys have done it. That's, being a part of history is pretty special. It's the personal part of it where just proving to myself again the level that I can play at. A couple years where, although I feel like I played well, the results didn't always line up with how I felt like I was playing. So it's nice to have everything line up the way it has this year and to be very efficient throwing the football, to take care of the football the way I've taken care of it, and to just do the things that I'm expected to do and counted on by my teammates. There's no greater measuring stick than the accountability that I have to my teammates, and the expectation level that they have. Meeting and exceeding that expectation level is very, very important to me. And when you do that and you have success and you win games, accolades come along with it. And there's a lot of guys who are deserving of those accolades with what we've seen with 7 Pro Bowlers, and there'll be all pros in the mix as well. And it's those are fun things. Again, that's not why you play the game. You play the game to dominate, to compete, and to win rings. But anyone who says that those things aren't on their mind or not important to them is not the type of competitor that I am. That stuff is important to me, and I do relish the opportunity to be in the mix. That means I'm playing well, and our team is in good position as well. When it comes to play action pass, the key is running the ball, and I think we've been efficient running the football. And then the other part of it is lining everything up with the action, pre-snap, the motions, making it all look the same. And I think it's this year that's been our greatest strength, is really tying every single run to the action. So there's not outlier actions or runs that don't have a corresponding action or run. And I think that's allowed us to make everything look very similar, which puts strains on the defense and their eye discipline. and it's allowed us to have some lanes behind that first and second level defenders to be efficient and to get guys in position to make plays down the field.
Olivia Reiner.
Hey, Aaron, even though earning the #1 seed in the NFC is your top priority this week, there are some milestones that Devontae can reach this weekend, including tying and eclipsing the franchise single season touchdown record. Where does his pursuit of those milestones live in your mind this week throughout your preparation, and how meaningful would it be for you to see him have those accomplishments?
Yeah, it'd be really meaningful. I mean, I think he's been short of a few milestones over the years. I think he's at 997 twice. 1,000 yards has been a milestone for any receiver. There was one year also where the yardage, I believe, was in the mix, and he didn't play the last week. For catches, maybe it was. Yeah, one catch. Thank you, Tom. So yeah, that's important. It's not the main focus. I always feel like records and milestones should come within the flow of the game, and I think that's why there's a special nature to them. But if in the flow of the game we get a chance to get him rolling and get him those milestones, would be really special.
Bill Huber.
Hey, Aaron, maybe this is a silly question considering you got to the championship game last year, but does this feel different this year?
Yeah, Bill, it feels different in a lot of different ways. Starting with just the game day, it feels way different. And I've spoken on that a lot about not having fans changes the whole dynamic of game day and the atmosphere and the energy in the stadium. I think from a practical standpoint, probably more what you're looking for. What feels different is our efficiency offensively. It's fun in the situational football that I talk about so much that we talk about, especially on these Wednesdays and after games, to be second in the league on third down, I believe, and first in red zone. I mean, that's pretty special right there. That means you're playing really good football, and that's one of the main markers that we talk about. It allows us to have such a great time of possession, allows us to continue drives, allows us to be efficient and to put up the yardage that we've been putting up in the pass game and in the run game. So that's been really special. Last year, it was such a struggle at times where we're winning. You guys mentioned it. It was true. Doesn't feel great to hear, but there were some ugly wins. And I would get up here and say a win is a win, and that's the most important thing, and it is. But at the same time, you don't mind when it looks kind of pretty. And there's been some pretty ones this year where we've really been efficient and put up the numbers that we expect to put up and been really efficient in third down and red zone and playing the kind of ball we want to play. That hasn't happened every single week, and there's been lulls at certain times throughout the season. But last week was a good marker for us, a good benchmark, because a lot of you guys were talking, I'm sure, about the measuring stick game. And I know Bob picked against us as well. Didn't hit him up on that about after Sunday, but I know that Bob Domofsky picked against us, and so it was good to go out and have a dominating performance like we did against a really good football team who's going to be in the playoffs, and this is another important game for us.
Hallie Grossman.
Aaron, looking back, what was your aha moment with Devontae? Like, when did you first start to sense, and what made you first start to sense that this particular partnership could turn out as fruitful as it has been?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question. I don't know if there was necessarily an aha moment with him and I's connection in the early days. He's the kind of guy like Greg Jennings on day one ran a curl route, and the way he got in and out of his break was unbelievable. And you just like, wow, okay, that guy's a player. Devontae had a similar early moments where he just ran a few routes and you just thinking, man, this guy has some special abilities. But he really worked on his craft. Much like myself as a young player, there were things that I really needed to work on and improve on if I was ever going to become the player that I wanted to become. Similar to Devontae, I think part of it was his body. He was so big and strong. I think he really leaned his body out in a great way and still kept, his physique the way he wanted to. But he really became a master of his route running. And he always had a really good first step and a great ability at the line of scrimmage to do things, but he took it to a whole nother level. And I've talked at length about his focus in 14 when he would go through stretches where he didn't get targets, and then he had a couple of big games for us. In 15, his toughness of playing through an injury the entire season. When a lot of people were talking about, should we cut him? Should we get rid of him? Is this not working out? And then his slow emergence, I think in 16 and 17 when I was hurt, and you saw him become the main guy for Brett, and you saw him really take kind of the mantle as the number one receiver. And then obviously since then, he's just continued to improve. It's the little things with him. Again, he's just done so many incredible things. There's not really one moment you can just say, hey, this was the time where everything clicked. I like one of my favorite moments, and it was an aha moment, was against Dallas in 17 when we went on that 2-minute drive, and I threw him a ball on first down after I ran the ball out of bounds for the extended drive. And I missed it a little low and inside and came back and put him backside by himself again and kind of asked him what he wanted, and he said, throw it again. That was a cool confidence moment to know that not only did he want the ball, but he basically wanted me to throw it a little bit better, and he was going to make a play. I threw it better. He made a difficult catch look really easy, and kind of the rest is history for our relationship.
All right, we'll do one last one. Brad Biggs with the Chicago Tribune.
Hey, Aaron, I'm curious, how did you use the restructured offseason, to kind of grow in the offense for year 2 with Matt LaFleur, and how much of that is responsible for the elevated play that not only you've had, but the entire offense this season?
Yeah, hi, Brad. Good to talk with you again. I think that what the offseason did was allowed us to really crawl through the installs. And I think the way that we decided to really Matt and Hackett and myself and Getsy put our heads together, the way that it was agreed upon to kind of sort the concepts, I think really